welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about, in the end of year reviews, I'm going to be talking about my least favorite books of 2023. Yeah, maybe I could steer you away from these ones, or if you hear something that you like, maybe you could end up liking it. Everybody has different tastes. If you like this book, obviously good for you. But these unfortunately do not work for me. A lot of these I actually feel somewhat, should I say, apathetic towards. No, I definitely dislike them, but I don't hate them. There's only one book here that I really don't like, and that's number one. Everything else was but these were the books that had the least pleasurable time reading. So the first one we'll be doing is Cleopatra and Frankenstein. This is by Coco Melors, and it's we follow this lady called Cleo. Anyway, and she meets this older man, Frank, and they basically fall in love, and we see them get married. It's kind of like a shotgun, very quick thing, and then we just follow their lives and the lives of everyone around them. And yeah, we see their marriage, I guess, kind of dissolve, and just everybody is messy. And yeah, as you can see, I'm not trying to describe it really well, but this book took me like 3 months to finish. It also made me think I did not like literary fiction. I don't know why I thought that, but yeah, it definitely made me think that the characters were just messy. I guess if you like messy characters, and yeah, it was no, like, when I first rated it, because I didn't want to be mean, but really I found myself wondering after reading, like, what was the point? And not that every book has to have a point, but I really did. Yeah, I didn't gain anything from it, and that's me. I found, and the writing could almost lean a bit, should I say, pretentious. It might rub some people pretentious. Okay, for example, I'll give you an example. So this is in the beginning, and when Cleo and Frank are talking, and then he says, your voice sounds like how biting into a Granny Smith apple feels. So if that does not sound cringe to you, then you might like this book. But if that sounds pretentious or annoying, and it's funny because I didn't even mind the beginning part, but honestly it just didn't hold my interest, and I didn't really feel like anything in particular was being explored. I don't know, I just feel like with literary fiction, there was just nothing, to be honest, and I'm not going to defend my dislike of it. I just read it and promptly just moved on. It was very forgettable. Anyway, yes. Then the next one I'm going to talk about is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, which is funny because it was one of my favorites. It was an honorable mention. No, T. Kingfisher was other novel, Sword Hats, was an honorable mention. English is not working today, but an honorable mention in one of my other books. Was an honorable mention in my favorite video. Why was that so hard? Anyway, so I read Nettle and Bone early in the year, and honestly it almost put me in a slump, which is, I don't, did I tell you? Okay, I told you. Anyway, so Nettle and Bone, we follow the youngest sister, Mara, whose 2 elder sisters have been married to this very abusive king, and it seems that, yes, so her sisters have been suffering at the hands of the abusive king, and then Mara realizes that she has to help her sister out, and she seeks help from a witch, and she basically gathers like a bunch of people along on this like quest, and then they all come together, and then she goes to save her sister. Yeah, that is it. For a short book, because this is a relatively short book, it's a standalone, one and done, I found myself very bored, really and truly. I don't know if it was the side quest aspect of it that just really lost my interest. Also, it was trying to, because it was supposed to be quite, it feels like a fairy tale. It really reads like a proper fairy tale. Like, things just happen, and there's no maybe like explanation or in depth, I don't know, there's no exposition, or it's just like, this happens, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this, and then yeah. And I guess I will say I could tell that like T. Kingfisher's humor would work for me, because I found it, like, I saw like some wit in there, but I was just like, I don't know, maybe the story was too short, the characters were just there, I didn't really feel for them, I didn't really care at the end of the day what was happening. And honestly, towards the end, I was just like, I want this to be over with so I can move on to something else. And even after, I was just like, ugh. So yeah, I'll take my review with a grain of salt because a lot of people seem to like this, and like I don't know, maybe the tone, because we're trying to be quite dark but at the same time humorous or lighthearted, and it was just clashing. I really don't know. I'm just trying to come up with reasons why I didn't like it, but I really did like it, and it almost put me in a slump. So there is Nettle and Bone. Then the next book I will be talking about is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This one is actually kind of sad because I liked the Remnant Chronicles. No, I'll talk about that. I really, really like the Remnant Chronicles. I read the 3 books. This is like unhinged behavior, but I read like the 3 books in one day. See, when I want to avoid doing, when I want to procrastinate, I can't do anything basically. So I read those books, like I have absolutely adored them. So when I found out that there was like a sequel to The Other World, of course I was really excited, and I picked it up, and it was like I'd gotten the recommendation from, I think was it from Book Talk, and everyone's calling Enemies to Lovers. It was amazing, blah 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 blah. First of all, Enemies to Lovers where? Enemies to Lovers where? No, that's not true. Also, okay, I'm not even going to go into that. You really need to. I think that there needs to be a proper definition that we all come to and agree on, because a lot of things that are called enemies to lovers are not. Also, secondly, it has got to the point where if something's called enemies to lovers, it actually decreases my interest in it, because it's probably not going to be there. Like, there's supposed to be enemies here. And another thing, honestly, I just found myself bored throughout the whole thing. Like, I think the worst thing a book can do, to be honest, is boring. Because what do you mean? I came here to be entertained. Okay, it's not the worst thing. It's one of the worst things, okay? And first of all, enemies to lovers were. Enemies to lovers were. So we follow these 2 characters, Kazi and Jace. So in the beginning, obviously, they meet and it's there's contention between them. But then they spend like the first 100 pages of this book basically in forced proximity, and before you know it, they've already fallen in love by the end of it. So where was the tension? Where was the angst? Where was the slow burn that we were promised? Anyway, that aside, I also found the plot to be quite, should I say, not boring, but it wasn't very engaging. I guess because I wasn't invested in the characters. Why should I spend almost 100 pages with characters that I was just introduced to it, like, and there was no plot? It was just, we're just following them walk about. I barely know these characters. I don't care about them. So why am I spending this much time? So by that, I guess because the romance was being so focused on, so I was just like, what are we doing here? I mean, obviously we get like a beginning of a plot, but it doesn't take off until after that. And honestly, by that time I was already bored and I lost interest. I will say I did go on to the sequel though, and I did find the sequel better. I don't give up on things. I don't know why, but I will see it to the end most of the time. I rarely ever DNF, so I guess that's a problem. But yeah, I didn't find this. It was quite boring. Again, it's not, as I said, it's not one of the worst things a book can do. But it is actually, no, I think it is one of the worst things a book can do, be boring, because I come here to be entertained. So yeah, Dance of Thieves was unfortunately very disappointing, because like I said earlier, I was really a massive fan of the Remnant Chronicles. But yeah, that's enough. Then the next book on the list is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And so in Dark Matter, we're following this physics professor who's, spending time with his family, normal day, and then he basically gets kidnapped and he's knocked unconscious, and he wakes up in sort of an alternate universe where he's not married, he has no child, but he's this celebrated genius. Anyway, and so he begins to doubt if, that other world was a dream. Like, where's his family, where's his wife and everything, and we follow him. And yeah, this was also, you say it again, what's the theme of this video? I was bored. And I think why, because I sat down, I really wanted to like this. I went into this thinking, I was going to like be obsessed with it, because I'd seen like many rave reviews. I think my major problem stems from the fact that I feel that the relationship between our main male character and his family wasn't really developed on page for me. So I wasn't invested, because obviously he's trying to find his way back to his family, and that's like the heart of the plot, that's what you're supposed to be invested in, and I just wasn't engaged. I didn't find it particularly interesting. I even feel like his family could have been replaced with anything else. Like, it wasn't like, that relationship was so, like, it was, there was there wasn't there wasn't a depth, yes, to the relationship where I'm like, oh, I'm so invested, like, oh, this guy is just trying to go back to his family. It just felt like they could have been replaced with anything, to be honest, and you just needed to go on this quest to get back. So yeah, I didn't find it really engaging. Even the theme, I didn't find the themes even as well. I guess this alternate universe, the life that could have been, the other. What's the word I'm trying to describe? When your other choices and what those choices could have led to, and regrets, and the road not taken. Yes, that's what I've been trying to say. The road not taken, and like I guess kind of exploring that. I didn't find it particularly interesting, or I read it, I forgot it to be honest, and I was just like meh after I read it. It's like, okay, I guess it's fine, but it wasn't a very memorable experience, and I guess again because of expectations, it was just kind of disappointing. Anyway, yeah. Then the next book is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. So I read this I was doing a spooky reader, because I was reading a couple of books, so I wanted to make recommendations for spooky reads. You can check that, anyway. So this one actually is very funny, because the more I think on it, the more I've soured on it, the more I dislike it. Because I was okay when I read it, I was like fine, but now that I think, when I was making this, I was like, I actually didn't like this book. Now that I think about it, upon further reflection. Anyway, what is House of Salt and Sorrows about? So basically, we follow these bunch of 12 sisters. It's kind of a horror fairy tale retelling of the 12 dancing princesses, something like that. Anyway, and so these sisters have started to die one by one, and so we follow one of the sisters who believes that the death of the latest sister was not an accident, that she's trying to figure out what is going on. But we see there's like visions, people are seeing ghosts, and she's trying to figure out what is real and what is not. I would just follow her. It was really atmospheric, I'll give it that. Like, I really felt like I was an old manor by the sea. I really liked how, even exploring like the what was real and what was not, like, is his character delusional, or is that, I think that was done really well. I thought that was really interesting. However, the final reveal was very, very underwhelming, and it went into a place, it took a direction where I was just like, really, this is the final reveal? Because I think it was something that I had discounted, because I was like, there's no way, that's so that's so obvious, and so, I don't want to call it cliche, this feels kind of mean, but it just felt like the very obvious direction. Not that, how am I to, it's not because I've written a story before, but I don't know, it just felt very obvious. And so when we find out, like, the reason behind everything, I was just like, really? Because it's like, I guess I had guessed this from like the first few pages, and so and then I discounted it because I was like, there's no way, that's too obvious. And so when I was just like, and also there's also a bit of a romance in this, and there's something that is revealed about the romance that kind of gave me the ick. I didn't like what it implies, and yeah, I will not go much more into that because that would be a spoiler. But yeah, I really didn't like what it implied. And also, I also saw this in another book of hers, Small Favors, but I like that one much more, so that didn't disturb me. But still, I was just like, is this a pattern? I guess, I don't know. But yeah, that's House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. Yeah, but it's really atmospheric. Like, if you want something like spooky, like, I would kind of still recommend, I guess, because just the review just very much underwhelmed me, and that's why. But it's not a bad book by any means, and again, well written, I think. Then the next book that I shall be talking about is, I think, one that's kind of controversial. I think this is a quite popular book. This is One Dark Window by Rachel Gilley. Again, this book is not a bad book by any means. I don't think I have any authority to say, oh, this book is bad, because like, I'm not like I didn't take creative writing classes or anything, just it's my opinion. So I don't think I can really come and categorically say a book is bad. But I think what happened is that I had very high expectations again, and then just meeting that, and just like high, very, very high. I'm just like, oh yeah. So I think this book just ended up being kind of mid for me, and I guess because of my high expectations, that made me even more like, maybe if I had like the right expectations being set or something, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have fallen into it. Anyway, what is One Dark Window about? So One Dark Window, we follow this girl called Elspeth, and she basically has this nightmare. She calls it a nightmare, this ancient spirit that keeps her in her head, which keeps her safe and all that. And then one day Elspeth runs into this mysterious highwayman on the road, and her life takes like a very drastic turn. And in this world, basically, magic is kind of like an infection, and she finds out that this highwayman is the king's nephew, and they are trying to commit treason. And so she gets basically wrapped up in this plot to overthrow the king and all that. This is not a spoiler, this is all in the description. I'm making sure. Anyway, I think I liked the world, you know, I liked the magic system. I liked the fact that the magic had consequences on their actions. I thought the thing with the whole card, like it had like a card magic system, I thought that was really intriguing. I would say that the world was very insular because we only focus on this particular town, just like in one, so it's like you don't even know, because I think they've basically been cut off, so it's only that one town, so there's nothing like outside the town, so there's no mention of any other cultures or any other thing. It's just this particular town, which is like, you know, fine, I didn't mind. But just a warning out there, in case you like very expansive world building, you won't really find that here. I think one of the issues with me is that I just don't feel like a lot of the characters, they didn't feel particularly well, let's say not well developed, but they just fell a little flat for me. Because I think we only knew like their motivations and that was it. And there wasn't like, I mean, apart from Elspeth, I did like the nightmare character. Apart from Elspeth, I don't know, I didn't care. At the end of the day, I really didn't care until like the last third. I was just like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. And then I wanted to find out what was happening. So yeah. And also another thing was like the romance was not, I didn't feel any chemistry between the two characters. I was just like, okay. So, and I mean, because obviously the romance had been hyped as well. So I was going into it also expecting the romance to be, you know, and I was just like very underwhelmed by it. Yeah. So I just read it like 3 hours reading. I was just like, I kind of had this, like, you know when you are forcing yourself to read through a book, it's just like, yeah, that was what I felt. But the last third, again, like I said, intrigued me enough to maybe continue. Okay, this is not a bad book by any means, it was just like, it was very underwhelming for me. So yeah. Then, okay, have I reached this is the number one, my least favorite book of this year, which happened to be, so this book is called Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. This is not this was a very much aggressively not for me book. If I had done my proper research, I probably wouldn't have read it, but still I read it and I was upset at it, and so I'm going to rant about it. So this is basically a dark romance, and then I am not a dark romance girl. Okay, I've read the Mind Fuck series by St. Abby Stabby and I like that very much, but I like dark romance like that, where it's, anyway, like that. If you've read of the Mindfuck series, you know. I've actually never talked about it on the channel. Sorry. Moving on. Point is, in Goodreads, because I took a screenshot, it says romance, fantasy, historical romance. So I read into this thinking this was fantasy. This is fantasy in like, oh, it takes place in another world. Is it? I don't remember enough about this book to even tell you. Or was it like, I mean, it was taking place on like an island, but I don't think it's ever mentioned like a real like in real world island. I'm not sure, I don't remember, because I just wanted to not think about this book anymore. But point is, maybe it's fantasy in the sense that it takes place in another, you know, another secondary developed world. This goes to show. Anyway, so let me read you the synopsis. So Bennett Sharp is on the run, wanted for piracy. She fears neither God nor death nor man, except Priest Farrell. Priest Farrell? Anyway, she's on the run from this pirate who's related to her, and then she gets kidnapped by another pirate, by a pirate hunter, and then she's basically, there's also like a little plot, which is not really important to be honest, but she's trying to find treasure from her father, whatever, it's not that important. Anyway, and so the lines between enemies and lovers blurs, blah 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 blah. Sorry, I'm rolling my eyes. Anyway, so this is, as I said, a dark romance, and I just think that, let me not generalize, I haven't read much so I can't talk about the genre, but I think that I don't know why the main character is put through so much, and I think it's supposed to make us feel like, oh, she's very strong, but honestly it just felt like gratuitous, to be honest. It was just like very excessive, and okay. And also I feel like there's times when the main character is assaulted, like sexually assaulted, and it's not treated as assault. The only time it's treated as assault is when it's rape. And I was just like, so but these other times, see, you're telling me this is not, and it's just like walked over, it's not addressed in the text or anything, it's just like we move past it, and I'm just like, that's kind of weird. And that's a very weird message to send, I think. I don't know. I'm not going to talk on the author's beliefs or whatever, but I find that very strange. Also, yeah, like we don't see her process any of it, and also the relationship, because basically there are two male leads, and you can imagine. Anyway, so her relationship with one of the other leads is so funny. Like when I was reading out that part, I was like, okay, maybe I can finish this. I was reading it and I was just laughing because I just found it so ridiculous. And then after this very ridiculous relationship, in my opinion, and then like they've only known each other for a week and they're already declaring their love to one another, and I was just like, oh, excuse me, from where? This is not. And it was very much described as I like very. I can't. It's actually angsty, but very like intense. Like, oh, my heart feels for him. I just know, and we're destined to be together. And I'm just like, whoa, chill. Let's chill, okay? Let's not all these descriptions for this relationship. Like, it was just not believable. I'm sorry, and I really like how the female main character was. Like how she had to go through so much, and it just felt like none of the other characters had to go through that much for their own character growth or development, and it was just always have suffering. It made me uncomfortable. Maybe I'm just not a dark romance girly. The girls that get it. The girls that don't. I don't get it. So yeah, these were my least favorite reads of 2023. Let me know if you read them. Let me know if you liked it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can convince me. Maybe I just didn't get it. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope this was entertaining, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.